Today we've got a cook to keep your guests on their toes. Well, welcome along to Barbecue Life, where great barbecue doesn't cost a fortune. Today we are cooking a pork fillet on the Ninja Woodfire, but you can cook this on anything you like, following the same sort of principles that we're using in this video. So let's jump straight in. So we've got a pork fillet or a pork tenderloin, depending on what you want to call it. Some supermarkets call it one, some supermarkets call it the other. And when you're purchasing it, you want to be making sure that it's quite uniform in size. So the same sort of cylindrical size top to bottom. You don't want it tapering in too much at one end, because it's going to make what we're doing with it quite hard to do and keep our cooking quite uneven when it comes to the way that we are cooking it. So I've picked this up. This is from Sainsbury's. This is part of her outdoor breed range, so it did cost a little bit more than what the standard one does. Just trying to be a bit more ethical in where I'm sourcing my meat these days. So we've got this. I'm going to get it onto a chopping board, and first thing we need to do is we just need to give it a little trim. So we've got some silver skin and we've got some fat, so we're just going to use a boning knife, slide it in underneath that silver skin, pulling back towards the silver skin as much as we can so we don't lose too much meat, and just get off as much as we can. And then we've got a nice little nodule of fat down that end as well, where we're just going to cut that away because we don't need the fat on the outside. So now what we need to do is we need to take that same knife, and we're going to be cutting this into 3 pieces. We need to put 2 cuts the lengthways down the fillet to give us 3 semi-equal thickness of pieces. It's really hard to get it completely equal because you're not going to get a fillet that is completely the same thickness all the way down, but that's why when you're sourcing it to begin with, it's important to pick something that is as uniform as possible. So we've split it down into 3, and the idea is that we're going to be putting 3 different flavours on each piece, and then we're going to plait it together. So our middle piece, I'm going on with my umami oomph powder. If you don't have that and you're not interested in buying that, then you can use any barbecue rub you want. If you are interested in umami oomph powder, then do check out the video where I launched it, where we discuss what it is. It is a no salt rub. We take our salty flavours from other natural ingredients, so it means our total salt content is only 0.1% across the entire pot, where some mainstream pots are as much as 40 to 60% in some of these, which is a mega amount of salt. But anyway, we're going to get that covered on that middle piece. Then with one of our outside pieces, we need to make up a honey and mustard mixture. So just into a little dish, I'm just going in with equal parts honey and mustard, about a teaspoon of each. Get them incorporated in together. Pick up our side piece of tenderloin, plonk it in that bowl, and we're just going to massage it through so we've got a nice coverage all the way up and down. And then in another little dish, I've got some of that barbecue sauce that we cooked last week with the rhubarb in there, or any other fruit that you would want to be adding in. And again, we're just going to pop that into the bowl, get that a nice coverage on there, and pop it back onto the chopping board. So what we now need to do is we need to get the ends back together. So when I've done a plait before, we've left the very end connected, but because we're putting different flavours on this, it's much easier to disconnect them and then reconnect them at the end. So we're just going to use a cocktail stick. Just go from the outside piece into the middle piece into the other outside piece, and that will just hold it together. And then we want to plait it over the top of each other. So fellas, plaiting, unless you've got little girls, plaiting may not be your forte, but it is not that hard really, and plaiting a pork tenderloin or a pork fillet is much easier than plaiting a little girl's hair, because you don't have little stray bits to worry about at the end. So what we do is we take an outside piece and we cross it over the middle, and then we take the other outside piece and we cross it over what is now the middle, which was the original outside piece, and we just keep crossing them over all the way down, and then fasten that together with a cocktail stick at the other end, just hold it all together. So now we've got these 3 different flavours on this pork, but they're all intermingling between the 2, and when it's cooked, it's not so easy to distinguish the difference between them all. So when you give somebody a slice, they're going to get 3 different flavours at that same piece of meat, which really does it excites your guests and keeps them on their toes. So with the Ninja Woodfire today, we're going to be setting this up for quite a short smoke. So I'm going to be using the economizer from the Pellet Man. So this is a little attachment that drops inside the the pellet hopper, and it lifts the pellets up higher so that you can just use half the amount of pellets. If you just try and put half the amount of pellets in the bottom half of the hopper, they don't tend to ignite because the heating element is quite high in that heating hopper. So we just drop the economiser in there, fill it up with our desired pellets. I'm using applewood pellets today, and drop that back into the Ninja, and then we're going to set ourselves up to smoke. So I've popped the fillet already on the grill, so that is ready to go, and we're just going to get it set up. So we can turn it to smoker, 120 degrees. I'm not too fussed about the time, it's currently set to 2 hours, but it's going to take nowhere near that. We're going to come back and check it after 25 minutes. So turn it on, make sure that we've got the Woodfire smoke on. I always like to turn that off and turn it back on again, and then we hit start, shut the lid, and it's completely ready to go. It'll go through its ignition stage where we're lighting the charcoal and we're bringing things up to temperature. After that 25 minutes, we want to be going in and checking for internal temperatures, and I'm expecting it to be anywhere between 60 to 65, and that is where we are sitting. So bang on the money where I expected it to be. If it's not there, then you can take it a little while longer on that smoke function. If you've got quite a small tenderloin, then you might want to be checking it after 15 to 20 minutes. So now we need to set our grill up just to get a bit of a sear on that outside. So we turn the Ninja off and we turn it round to grill. We're going to set it to medium because the high heat is going to burn the sugars that we've got in this, in the rub and in the honey and in the barbecue sauce. So nice medium heat. Now, the one thing that really narks me about the Ninja when it comes to the grill function is how long it takes to heat up. So because we've already got the meat on there, we're going to set that for 5 minutes, but by the time it's heated up, we've already got some char marks on the bottom. So I'm just keeping an eye on it, opening and closing the lid every minute or two, just keeping an eye, and before it's even finished preheating, it's time for me to flip this because I'm happy with the colour on the bottom. We flip it over, shut the lid, and that was pretty much the time that it beeped and told me that it was ready to go. We gave it another 2 minutes on that top side, flipped it back over, checked the temperature. We've hit 74, which is safe, and it's time to take it off and give it a rest. We'll just pop that on the chopping board, and we want to leave that for about 5 minutes just to let the juices redistribute throughout the meat, and it'll give us a much more tender bite after we've finished resting it. So once we've finished resting, just going to go in with a sharp knife, cut through, and as I say, you're going to have 3 individual pieces that are 3 individual flavours. So you can be cutting through this, giving this to your guests. If they get 2 slices of each, they get 2 pieces of the barbecue sauce, 2 pieces of the oomph powder, and 2 pieces of the honey and mustard, and it just keeps people on their toes, especially if you don't tell them exactly what flavours are in there. They're going to eat one piece and expect the next piece to be the same, and it's going to be slightly different. So it is good fun to play with, and you can mix up your flavours. But we're going to discuss that a bit more after we give it a taste. So we've sliced it in. We've got nice sections of what's what. So we're going to go 1 piece of each. So I don't know what's what. There's a little crunchy bit. Crunchy bit was most definitely the rhubarby barbecue sauce. So that is what I'm expecting this to be. That pairs with the pork so well. As soon as we made that barbecue sauce, the first thing my wife said when she tasted it was that we need to dip sausages in it, which is why we've paired it with this pork. That's your oomph powder. Well, by default, this should be the honey and mustard. Definitely taste the sweetness there from the honey. That is really nice. Possibilities with this are endless. You can mix and match different flavours that you want throughout this. It's a really nice way to cook for guests, and then each person gets a slightly different piece of meat throughout their eating experience. So it would work really well if you was entertaining. If you want to do this as a roast, And you could have more traditional flavours. You could have things like sage and onion on one, and just salt, pepper, garlic on another. I don't know. As I say, the options are endless that you can really make this work. So if you like what we're doing here at Barbecue Life, then please do subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.